Now, the EU Commission President Ursula von der Leyen survived a vote of no confidence at the European Parliament. The motion, which unsurprisingly failed, was a political headache for the 66-year-old who was pushed to defend her record during the COVID-19 pandemic. Today's no confidence motion was the first time a European Commission President had to face one since 2014. For more on this story, we can bring in our European Affairs editor, Armen Georgian. Armen, good to see you. Was this a resounding vote of confidence in Ursula von der Leyen?
It's a bit of a mixed bag, Delano. On the one hand, the party groups which said they would vote for her, they kept their word, they did do that. But a lot of people didn't turn up to vote at all. In fact, 167 MEPs didn't vote, including people from that broad centrist pro-von der Leyen bloc.
What does that mean?
Well, it means that they sort of gave a cold shoulder to her in a way if they didn't turn up, I guess. I mean, if emotion is important enough, then you turn up and vote. In any case, in the end, yeah, she did get the votes to get her over the line easily, and obviously she was feeling confident. She didn't even come to this session. She'd actually been in Strasbourg earlier in the week, Delano, but today she was in the Ukraine recovery conference in Rome, so she wasn't even there. She was confident of winning, clearly.
So is she safe now, or will she be skating on thin ice?
Well, if we take, first of all, Pfizergate, okay, so that was the reason why this vote of no confidence was actually brought to the House. Those allegations are not going away. I mean, they've been like a cloud hanging over her for the last 4 years, but there are actually much more pressing issues than Pfizergate right now for MEPs. There's the question of what happens to the Green Deal, for example. That's a big one. There is the alignment between the Conservatives and the far right on various issues in committee votes in the European Parliament. That's a big topic. There's the big budget negotiations coming up. What are the spending priorities going to be? That's also kind of a political hot potato. So you've got a lot of tensions within the European Parliament and, of course, between von der Leyen herself and members of her pro-European coalition in the European Parliament. That's one thing to consider, but I think the bottom line is, Delano, if we're saying, is she safe or not? Mathematically, there's no alternative in this current European Parliament, the way it's composed. There's no real alternative to that kind of very broad centrist pro-von der Leyen coalition, however fragile it might look sometimes. Because what's the alternative? Are you going to suddenly have the far left and the far right teaming up? Obviously not, even though neither of them are fans of von der Leyen by a long shot. You're also, I don't think, going to see any kind of formal agreement or alliance between the Conservatives and the various far right groups in the European Parliament. So you're left with this centre, basically. And so I think the members of that centre, they know things are becoming very frayed, very difficult, but they also know that they've got to hold it together somehow, despite all the problems.
Armen, thank you.